Hello everyone, this is Reshma and you all are watching English Grammar. In today's session, we are going to see 20 important figures of speech. So let's start with simile and metaphor. Here, you will have comparison. In one, you will have direct comparison, and in the second one, indirect comparison. Means, in short, if you have comparison in the given sentence, then you can simply think about simile or metaphor. For example, simile's example will be like this. John runs as fast as cheetah. Means here as word is used for the comparison. So simply you can write over there, this one is the simile figures of speech. And if the sentence is like this, John is the cheetah of our class. Here, without using as or like word, if you have indirect comparison in it, then you can consider the given sentence is in metaphor figure of speech. Let's talk about the third figure of speech, and this is the personification. Personification, when you can use if our quality, means human being's quality, is given to any object, idea or any other thing, then in this case you can say there is personification. For example, the wind whispered through the trees. Here, the wind is personified as capable of whispering, which is a human action. Let's talk about alliteration. If you can see in the given sentence or given verses, any consonant, means the first word's first consonant is repeated 2 or 3 times or more than 3 times, then you can say here you have alliteration. For example, and no one buys a ball bag. So here the poet has used B sound repeatedly, which makes the expression musical. Now let's talk about the repetition figure of speech. In this figure of speech, if you have any words repetition, then easily you can identify the given verse or sentence is in repetition, means the repetition figure of speech is used. For example, what is he to do? In this statement, what word is repeated 2 times, so that's why you can consider here repetition figure of speech is mentioned. Let's talk about the next figure of speech, and it is hyperbole. This is something most of you do on a daily basis. Exaggerate. Hyperbole is an exaggerated statement or claim that is not meant to be taken literally. It's a rhetorical device often used for emphasis, humor or dramatic effect in both literature and everyday language. Hyperbole stretches the truth to such an extent that it becomes obvious that it is not meant to be interpreted literally. For example, I am so hungry that I could eat a horse. The next figure of speech, it's an imagery. Imagery refers to the use of descriptive language that appeals to one or more of the 5 senses, creating mental pictures or sensory experience for the reader. For example, the sky was painted with streaks of pink and orange as the sun dipped below the horizon. Anaphora. Anaphora is a specific type of repetition in which a word or phrase is repeated at the beginning of successive clauses or sentences. For example, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So in this example, it was and it was is repeated in both the clauses. Let's talk about next figure of speech, and it is onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia is a figure of speech in which words imitate the sound or sounds they describe. For example, animal sound or any other object sound. In examples in a sentence, let's see. Ding dong, the sound of a bell ringing. So here the word ding dong, it produces a kind of a sound. Buzz, the buzzing of bees fill the air. So in this sentence, buzzing is the sound of bees. Irony is a literary device or a situation where there is a marked contrast between what is expected to happen and what actually occurs. For example, if a fire station burns down, that's an example of situation irony because it's unexpected for an institution designed to prevent fires to be destroyed by one. Let's talk about oxymoron. Oxymoron is a phrase that combines normally contradictory terms. For example, bittersweets, open secret, then original copy or virtual reality, means opposite words are used over there. In this type of examples, you can consider it's an oxymoron. Let's talk about antithesis. Antithesis involves the presentation of contrasting ideas in parallel structure to create emphasis or highlight differences. Means here opposite words is used but in different clauses. For example, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. So in these two statements, opposite words are used at a time, but in the different statements it is used. That's why it is called antithesis. The allusion. An allusion is a literary device that makes a reference to a person, place, event or work of literature or art, either directly or indirectly. It's a brief and indirect mention that draws on the reader's familiarity with the referenced material to add depth, meaning or response to the text. Example, mentioning Romeo and Juliet in a love story is a literary allusion to Shakespeare's play. Let's talk about symbolism. Symbolism is a literary device in which an object, person, situation, or action is used to represent a deeper meaning beyond its literal interpretation. For example, the color red might symbolize passion or danger, while white might symbolize purity or innocence. It's time to see paradox. A paradox is a statement or situation that appears to be contradictory or logically absurd, but upon closer examination reveals a deeper truth or meaning. Paradoxes are often used in literature, philosophy, and rhetorical to provoke thought, challenge assumption, and explore complex ideas. For example, more is less, or the beginning of the end. Talk about the first example, more is less. Here, if you have much knowledge, even also it is like a less knowledge. So in this case, you can use paradox. Next is synecdoche. It is a figure of speech in which a part of something is used to represent the whole or vice versa. For example, he asked for her hand in marriage. In this phrase, hand is used to represent the person as a whole. Is poetic license. Poetic license is a convention that allows a poet to take liberty with language by changing the spelling or violating grammatical rules with the purpose of creating rhymes, lyricism, a rhythm, or emphasis or humor. For example, and a Trulio, little page dragon. Here, for really, the word coined is Relio and Trulio is for truly. Transferificate. Let's talk about it. This is the poetic device where one noun's quality is given to the another noun. For example, our quality, if it given to any part of body, then it would be become like a transferificate. Let's see example. John had a sleepless night. So here sleepless is our quality, means human being's quality is given to the night, and that is why it is transferificate. Next is enjambment. It is a poetic device in which a line runs on to the next line or lines carrying on the idea without a punctuation mark at the end of a line. For example, what is he to do? I saw it go, merrily bouncing down the street and then merrily over there. It is in the water. Here, you cannot see any punctuation at the end of the each line. But after 2-3 lines, it is given, and that is why it is called enjambment figure of speech.